Alright everybody, hello and welcome to Truesight TV. I'm SP Revolution 5 with the 6.84 patch analysis. Hopefully Rupture and Plague will be joining us. Plague had a doctor's appointment or something he had to get back from, so he is going to be here in possibly an hour or so. Rupture is playing a pub. Classic Rupture, I know. But I'm here and I'm just going to get things started on my own. So 6.84 is out. It's been out for, or the patch notes at least, have been out for about 24 hours. I've played around a bit in the test client. I have listened to some other analysis. I got to catch the end of Jenkins and Team Leviathan's analysis. I have seen the general consensus of thoughts on it. Got to watch Merlini's brief video and the full Suns Fan Cinder and breakdown of things. And overall, I feel like my opinions are actually a bit different from theirs, especially Merlini's. I feel like the changes are, as a whole, really very good. And that this is going to be one of the most fun patches to theorycraft that there's been in a long time. At least just to theorycraft. Now, is it going to be one of the most fun patches to play? I feel like there's a lot of pub stompers in it. I feel like there are a lot of new mechanics and new items and sort of new concepts that players are going to have to think about. But overall, I feel like the game's going to feel very fresh, it's going to feel very fun, and there's going to be no ho-ho-ha-ha at all, pretty much. We'll get to that in a bit, though. What I want to look at first are, of course, your general gameplay changes. So, I'm going to skip over a couple of these that are not as important. We've got a AoE bonus gold component of team net worth difference reduced by 25%, and the XP component is reduced by 40%. Lots of people were complaining about the rubber band. I still felt like it was a nice mechanic to have. The XP definitely needed to be reduced by about 40%. I wouldn't say the gold, I wouldn't say it was even that bad. I didn't think it was much of an issue. I felt like it was in a decent spot. It wasn't like 6.82A where if you were Spectre and you pressed R once and you were behind, well, you got 50 million bajillion fucking gold. But I felt like it was balanced enough that you could do a lot with it. This is a nice change. It'll make it so that certain heroes are more powerful, and we'll get into that in the hero balance, but things like Anti-Mage and Alk will be a lot more viable. Melee range creep or melee and range lane creeps are both having their bounty reduced by about 7%. Not too much of a difference, but enough to make a big difference. Where previously you were going to get 1,000 gold from however many creep waves, now you're getting like 930. So again, not a huge change, but enough of a change to shift the metagame a little bit out of the farming-oriented space. Hero kills, non-net worth portions, so the actual kill itself on a hero, disregarding the whole rubber band stuff, are worth 10% more. I'm assuming this is just gold. I didn't even think about this before now, but that's going to push it more toward fighting, but also it's going to kind of make players play more passive. This slows the game down a bit, in a way, because yes, while kills are worth more, you don't want to be giving away that big of a bounty. And so I feel like this is going to slow the game down. Merlini was saying, okay, it'll speed the game up, and I would argue the opposite, and that has to do also with things like the item ceiling being raised, the different items being put in, and I just don't see it speeding the game up much. Yes, the 10% more is going to be useful, but it's not incredibly huge. Now, there's more factors for the AoE bonus gold. Direct hero last hit bounty has been reduced by 100, and we redistributed that gold into AoE gold. So basically, the AoE gold is always going to be at least 100. And the more heroes around, the less you're going to get. So solo kills are going to be much more useful, much more profitable as well. 5-on-5 teamfight kills, not as much. So deathballing isn't going to be great. Getting a solo pickoff, though, is going to be amazing for the carry or the support that is able to get it. So that's going to be a really big deal. Bonus gold is now distributed based on relative net worth amongst the heroes involved in killing the hero by plus or minus 25%. Okay, so if 3 heroes kill an enemy hero, the extra AoE bounty would normally be 200 gold for each player. It's instead 200 plus 25% for the poorest hero, making it 250, 200 for the middle, and 200 minus 25 for the richest. So this is basically like a tax cut for the poor, kind of in the Dota economy. It's saying, okay, if you 3 kill a hero, we're going to split the gold evenly depending on how much you already have. So if you're a support who's not getting much, you're going to get even more out of kills. If you're a carry, you're still going to be getting most of your gold from farm. You'll get a decent amount from the gold too, because keep in mind, hero kills are worth more. If it's 3, you're going to get 40 gold each, which actually, I didn't even think about this, but the direct hero last hit bounty, your team is going to get more. They'll get 150 if it's a 2-man gank. They'll get 120 if it's a 3-man gank, and then 100 for 4 and 5. If I'm doing my math right, which is interesting. I'm assuming that's just a balanced thing. So you get a little more gold overall as a team, depending on what you make it through. Sorry, I tabbed out to Dota 2 Lounge there. My bad. Increase, decrease up by up to 20% based on dying heroes' relative rank and net worth amongst all the enemies on that team. This is basically so that, okay, let's say you've got a carry who got 3 early kills and picked up a Midas. He's very far ahead. You're a poor support who hasn't got his boots yet, and you get picked off. The comeback mechanic is not going to work as well. Because you're the poor support. You don't have as much net worth on your team as the carry, which means if he gets picked off, he's punished more for it, but if you get picked off, you're not. So you can really go create space with it, which is very nice. The buyback change, I'm still not sure about. I understand what it does, 60% less gold for everything, and you get unreliable gold, which is nice, but 60% less gold is a lot less. For example, you get 500 gold for killing a hero, congratulations, you only get 200 gold for that now, which is quite a big difference. I think that's going to be a real difference, and they say that if you buy back when the enemy's pushing, you get a few kills. The amount of gold you get for that, including the net worth difference bonus, is reduced by 60%. Generally, you are going to need to kill heroes when you buy back. You don't buy back to farm 98% of the time, even before the change about the unreliable gold. So I feel like this is really punishing heroes like Spectre that want to tank up everything in a fight and then say, okay, I'm going to buy back and get right back into it. You're not going to get as much gold for that this time around. And that's not going to go too well. Melee barracks and range barracks had their bounties increased by a lot. 100 on the melee, 125 on the range barracks. And you might be saying, well, this kind of ruins the combat mechanic. Yes, and a lot of people have complained that high ground is too hard to breach. Now, while high ground may still be tough to breach, if you completely take a Rax, you're getting rewarded more. Keep in mind, I believe this is per player. And someone in chat, please correct me if I'm wrong. But for taking a melee barracks, you would now get 1125 gold for the whole team. Now, the tier 2 and 3 towers armor has been reduced by 3, which is gonna be really nice for rat heroes. And we've seen a lot of buffs to rat heroes. I mean, I'm sure you guys have read a lot in the patch notes and whatnot. This is gonna make it easier to break high ground a little bit, which is kind of a nerf to Sniper, because part of the issue was, okay, Sniper and Lena, for instance, they can stand up on high ground and just hold racks forever, and then rubber band back into the game. So, I don't know, it's good changes overall. Creep spawn times were changed every 15 minutes. That's a lot easier to remember, for one thing. Because if you can time your push right with that creep, you get a little extra power. The extra range creep and siege creep additions from 43:30 to 45 minutes, just for consistency and a lot easier to remember again. So, pretty fair changes. Creeps now meet slightly closer to Dire safe lane. This is going to mean that the Radiant offlane is a little worse. I didn't really pay much attention to this, because usually I'm going for Bounty Rune and trying to fight off that and probably dying because I'm bad, you know. But, a lot of people say, okay, Radiant offlane is really good. Dire offlane, meh, not really. However, this is going to make the Radiant offlane quite a bit better. A bunch of gold changes on Ancients just to kind of fall in line with the creep change we had up here. I don't think this is too much to worry about. Hellbearer is actually a little bit easier to kill, but you're getting less gold for it. It's a bit of a useful thing. And the Satyr camp is now a lot worse, actually. Losing 20 gold on that camp is quite a big deal for junglers. Reworked Mud Golems, they no longer magic immune. They still have the same value and everything, but they can split into smaller mud golems, and they have no armor, period, which makes physical DPS junglers like Axe and Ursa actually a little better against them. Now, you can hurl a boulder, and that will give you a 0.6 second stun, which isn't much, but it's 800 range. And this is a buff to Chen and Enchantress, of course, which they can actually use Mud Golems other than, yeah, I've got a Mud Golem. So what? You've got a Mud Golem. What does that matter? Now it does matter, because there's a ranged stun. I also would really see Dooms picking this up. I'm not sure about the mana cost on it, because it doesn't say. Does that actually have no mana cost? If it has no mana cost, that is the go-to creep for Doom versus the Centaur. You're definitely going to go for that over a Centaur, I'd say 9 times out of 10. At least in the very early game. In the mid game, yeah, you'll get the Stomp because it's AoE, but that's a decent thing. Hero kills achieved by units under your control. Now give XP to your hero, so if you get a kill across the map with a Spear Bear Burn or the new Ags upgrade, which we'll get to, you actually get XP, which is huge. That's something that should have happened already, in my opinion, but other things like that. So it's basically a big buff to summon bulls, summoned heroes, etc. Melee attacks now miss if the target's further than 350 range. That's a bug fix. This is just to make all pick go faster, which is fine with me because it takes forever. Following abilities no longer ignore units classified as Ancients. Now, at first it's like, okay, so they don't do damage to Ancients. Most of them. There is one big issue with that, and this is Heartstopper Aura. Heartstopper Aura now works against Ancient Creeps and Roshan. And in the last 2 games I played on the test client this afternoon, I'm just sitting in lane farming, and in about 6 minutes, Roshan dies to Necro, and I'm like, what the heck just happened? If you get your Heartstopper Aura level 1 and just kind of sit in the pit and hang out for a bit, you virtually get a free Aegis. Which this is a little ridiculous. I'm still not sure how the rest of these things work, but I'm pretty sure most of them are affecting the Ancients in some way. Riptide is a big buff to Naga. I'm just trying to look through these real quick. Smokescreen is Riki, so he could actually farm Ancients in theory. Ghost Ship is interesting, but the massive amount of damage that it does and the fact that you get the rum and the low cooldown on that, you could potentially stack Ancients for Kunkka if it does damage. You need to test that in a lobby. Don't just go into your pub and stack some Ancients and pop a Ghost Ship. Ice Vortex will lower their magic resist, but they probably won't take magic damage anyway. Most of this, though, I believe, is for the pure damage. But we'll see. The big change there is Heartstopper Aura, and I wouldn't be too surprised if that got reverted, because it's a little ridiculous how fast Necro can farm right now. Damage block no longer affects physical spells, just for consistency. Again, kind of a bug fix sort of thing. Rework the item silencing and passive disabling behaviors. Okay. Basically, Sheepstick is getting nerfed hard. Now, passive disabling is called break, which means that's what turns off passives. Item silencing is called mute. So, mute, the only thing that has applied it before this is Doom, Scepter Static Storm, and Hex. Hex no longer does this to passive disabling, but it still does it to items, okay? So, basically, PA got a big buff because her evasion is no longer disabled. I'd say Spectre got a big buff, I believe, because Dispersion is no longer disabled. And cast behavior turning to cast, this is kind of just a bug fix thing. I'm not going to go in depth with that. Silence no longer disabling invisibility is a big buff to Riki. And, I mean, Riki's not picked in competitive pretty much at all. This is a big change that's going to allow him to be picked there. Moved Ring of Health, Voidstone, Orb of Venom from Secret Shop to base. Moved Plate Mail, Talisman, and Ult Orb from base to Secret Shop. This is a map control thing. If you've got map control, it's going to be a lot harder for them to get really valuable items. Specifically Ult Orb, which is used in a lot of popular things. However, having Ring of Health and Voidstone in the base is very nice, and having Voidstone and Mantle of Intelligence in the side shop is really nice as well. The Mantle of Intelligence, not so much, but you can pick one of those up to increase your mana pool if you really need to. So, that's going to be okay. And this is kind of a, I'm sorry, Storm, but we're going to do this. You still have Safe Lane where you can buy your Mantle of Intelligence if you need to for some reason. Bug fix on the runes. They now have a hitbox priority over units, so you don't have to kind of click in between a hero's legs or something to get the bounty rune at the beginning of the game. Fine with me. You can now get Abyssal on Bash heroes. Armor shows decibel places in the tooltip. These are kind of bug fixes. The Abyssal is nice, but it's just a, yeah, if they have oodles and oodles of gold, they can now get a permanent stun through BKB, which is great, but if they were bashing anyway, they were probably getting that stun through BKB. So, and a bug fix on buyback respawn. That's overall the general changes, and again, it's changing the way gold is earned, changing a lot of things about creeps, and I'm still unsure about this whole ancient thing. I definitely don't like Heartstopper Aura, as I mentioned, but we'll see how that happens, and then a couple bug fixes. We're going to skip heroes for now, don't panic, and here's why. First of all, I want to discuss heroes with my commentator rights, or whatever you call them, around. We're not quite with them yet, which is a problem, obviously. But hopefully we will be. And I feel like the items really are changing the game in a big way. A lot of people said, oh no, it's LOL, it's LOL, oh god, run. No, it's not League of Legends, calm down. It's a mechanic that came from League of Legends, yes, but it's not a major mechanic, and if you guys will give me 1 second here. Sweet, Root did win. Alright. Sorry, I'm just getting that money, you know. Okay. Oh, okay, I'll try that again in a second. I am discussing with you guys, and as usual, as I'm going through this, if you guys have anything to say in the chat, please pipe up and say it. Okay, so this is the big hype for everyone. The Enchanted Mango. I'm gonna be honest here. I don't see this as a huge deal for most heroes. Heroes like Sven, heroes like Chaos Knight, and heroes like Tiny, this is a very big deal. Mainly because this is basically a one-time use soul ring that vanishes after you use it. Okay, that's how I'm thinking of it. Except it doesn't add the 150 to your pool, it just gives you 150 mana. So, that's an issue. For most heroes, this isn't going to be an issue, and yes, you could theoretically like buy 6 of them, fill up your inventory, and spam your carry with mana. Chances are your carry isn't going to need that much mana, and you'd be a lot better off buying some passive regen, or just a larger mana pool in general. However, on the heroes I mentioned, like Sven, Chaos Knight, heroes with very low mana pool and relatively high mana costs, this is a very big deal. The other thing is that it's basically an instant clarity. It's triple the cost, but it's an instant clarity. So, I'm interested to see what this happens. I think the big deal is going to be First Blood, using this, and really spamming out those low cooldown abilities as well. And who is... Oh, Rupture's here. Sweet. So now I have somebody to talk with, and I'm not going to be talking to myself here. It's going to get a lot more interesting. Okay, I'll just type in calling and hopefully he'll come in. When Rupture gets here, we'll talk about the Mango a little more. I don't really see the big picture beyond the first 2 to 3 minutes of the game. Maybe. Oh, hey, Rupture.
Oh, there we go.
How's it going?
Got no notifications. Yeah, I'm doing good. I was just doing some rank party stuff, man.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of your game there. Did you end up winning that one?
Yeah, that was actually
okay.
kind of easy at the end.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Because it was pretty stupid, by the way. I don't know, man.
Let me
I'm calling on
turn you down a little bit. Okay, so I'm going through the patch notes. Right now, I've gone through the general changes, and okay. I'm looking at items. Right now, we skipped heroes for now because I think items kind of are more important than heroes overall. Just because a lot of these new items are changing the way the game's played. Any thoughts on the general changes overall from you?
Well, since I actually did the patch analysis last night.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try to give you a little bit of my excerpt of this. Mangoes are pretty good for supports. like really, really good. Also, for heroes with really slow mana, with really low mana pools, who you want to get like a quick jump into someone, that extra surge of mana is really good. Like for example, as Ven or a Chaos Knight.
That was exactly who I was saying.
Yeah, Doom Jungle is pretty legit.
Oh, I forgot about Doom Jungle, but yeah, that is.
I mean, the HP regen is quite nice, and then with the sudden 150 mana, it's like, oh, suddenly I have for my ultimate. So fuck you.
I can see it picked up as 1 though, but I'm not seeing like the whole let's get 6 mangoes and fill up all our slots. Like
you can't either way. It's like
I mean, you won't have anything else, and you'll have to buy them after the buzzer, but
yeah,
it could happen.
It's like even then you cannot just stack them anyway. So
yeah, it's just a strange item, and I think people are overhyping it a little bit.
No, it's so versatile though. It's pretty good. I mean, I don't think they're overhyping it. It's just the fact that
wait. This is
a single item that you're gonna buy over and over again. Sometimes when you have a really good, when you're jungling, or maybe when you have like a really small mana pool, and then you're willing to abuse it.
But what about late game though?
Tangos, it's the same kind of relevance as tangos or clarities. It's a better clarity, you could say.
Yeah,
because you don't have to wait.
I'm thinking late game though, you might do it like where you know how you'll buy a salve sometimes to regen just a little bit faster.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly. That would be
for the cost late game, this is almost nothing.
For a tinker, this is a dream on late game, is because you're like, 150 mana for
quick back to the lane.
Then I can see the fountain just littered with mangoes. With a tinker.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm just gonna drop in, just jumping up and just go out there, man.
No, you can't
Especially
pull
when
them.
a tinker puts in like a 7,000 gold.
Yeah, if you're 6 slotted, you buy these, I think.
Yeah, you're just gonna smoke through this like a motherfucker. But for example, a centaur with a mango is like really, really good.
Yeah, because you actually have a chance to get a second stun. Yeah,
exactly.
Now
that's the thing. That's a factor on laning stages. Is the fact that all of a sudden, oh, there's a stun. Wait, but he didn't have any mana. Oh, now I do.
Just kidding.
As a support, you'll need to be extra careful. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Especially like towards against Sven, Chaos Knight, and such, because the way that you play around those heroes is the fact that, okay, you just try to bait out their main spell, especially Sven, you know, the Stormhammer, and then pretty much the rest of the laning phase is pretty easy, because while he's recharging his mana pool, you're able to harass him pretty effectively. But now with a mango, it's like, okay, you need to actually bait those spells twice and not die in the process. But at the same time, you as a support with a mango, you have a better laning experience in general, because that passive regen is gonna help you a lot in the long run, especially if you're like a Skywrath mage or something like that who is harassing heavy, or a silencer.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's down 1 HP regen is pretty good, but then you're gonna pop the mango if you really, really need it. You won't, because you're a support and you wanna make the most out of it. But in general, I mean, if need be, if you're like, oh, I'm low mana because I need, there's a gank coming or something like that. I need that clutch swap. I need that clutch magic missile. I need that clutch Laguna Blade. Even, I mean, the mango's there for you, and it's 150 gold, which is pretty much half of a kill. So it pays for itself.
If you can get a kill with it, it's going to pay for itself. I think this is one of those ones that we'll have to wait and see how it really impacts the game. Lotus
Orb gonna be a support favorite. That's maybe some jungle here and there, but yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be the end of all item, because
you'll still get clarity once in a while.
But I mean, the thing is very versatile. It's very versatile. I feel like it's gonna get a fair shake of use. I mean, it's not gonna be like the new tangos here, but they're pretty good. They're one use only though, so that's a limiting factor, so you cannot stack them up. So
if there were 4 of those, it would be absolutely ridiculous. But anyways, moving on to Lotus Orb. This is the blade mail for spells, but even better. It's basically cheaper than a Lincoln's, built of almost the same components, but instead of an ultimate orb, you have plate mail, and instead of a 1200 recipe, you've got a 900 recipe, which is a lot better, because Lincoln's can be quite expensive. You target the allied unit, and it removes negative buffs, which I think is possibly even better than the next effect. The fact that, okay, they're slowed, they're stunned. Oh, not stunned, but they're slowed, they're poisoned by Veno. You just poof, your carry is safe. And that is enormous. It also applies an Echo Shell buff for 6 seconds. While Echo Shell buff is active, it recasts all targeted spells back at its caster. So Chaos Knight throws a Chaos Bolt, it stuns the person with the shell, but it also stuns Chaos Knight. So
yeah, both get stunned. So pretty much both spells go through. It's just the fact that you're able to dish it back on. So
yeah,
I think, and there's a little bug with this, which is with the Doom, which I think is going to get fixed because you cast Doom onto the target and both of you get Doom. I don't think that's...
I feel like Doom should somehow purge this off. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it kept the way it is. That's the problem with some of this. It's like, okay, how do we know if it's a bug or not? Well, we wait to see if they fix it. Overall, though, this is big.
It's not a single spell that it reflects. It stands for the whole 6 seconds through.
Yeah.
So it's gonna ensure. This is really good to put it on to your initiator, particularly.
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
It's gonna ensure the guy is gonna go through like a TIE Hunter with this.
He's either gonna live,
and even if he doesn't, he's gonna chomp up some heavy disables who are gonna get reflected back to the enemy lineup. So
yeah, like even if you don't live with it, it's fine.
Like a hex, and I mean the Lion is hex, so you got a pretty decent window either way, you know.
Yeah,
because half of their disables are off.
The other thing about this is with Plate Mail moving to Secret Shop, everything but the recipe is bought at the Secret Shop, which is just a weird change. I don't know if that's part of the reason, but anyways, let's move on to the next item that I really just don't get. It's kind of a stepping stone item between Shadow Amulet and Shadow Blade. You can disassemble this, so all you're really doing is adding a cloak onto your Shadow Amulet. You've got 30 attack speed, 20 magic resist. You target an allied unit and turn them invisible after 0.4 seconds fade time. They gain 66% magic resistance. Now realize they only have the magic resist when they're invisible.
Yes.
So it's only really useful against AoE, in that sense.
Yes. Or, which is the realization we came out on our own, this is the perfect GTFO item.
Yeah, it's a great escape
GTFO.
item.
It's like, oh, I got a Venomancer who just blew his load on the team fight. I managed to survive.
Actually, whoa.
It, and, you know, I need to get the hell out of here. Especially like an Ember Spirit or like a Tinker or something like that. Well,
I don't think you need it on Ember, but yeah. And 16-second cooldown, which means it's up more often than Shadow Blade. However, the duration is much shorter. So
yeah, but
the magic resistance stay after the item expires.
You get more value out of the invisibility outside of our regular Shadow Blade. On top of that, you can flip the script, and this is really good initiation item. Really, really good.
Because you can just walk in and go. Yeah, and with
exactly.
5 seconds, okay, attacking or casting a spell will cause the 0.4 second fade time to trigger.
Yeah, but
what about items, though?
Really good.
What about items? Because what I'm thinking is your support gets this. You have Shadow Fiend. You cast it on Shadow Fiend. He blinks in. He's got 5 seconds to cast his ult from out of nowhere, and he doesn't even have to build the Shadow Blade.
Yeah, that works too, because you can get a support to build it for you. Because this is the thing with the Glimmer Cape, is like you cannot use it on yourself, or at least I don't think so. I need to test it out though.
I wouldn't be surprised if you could, actually, because it just says targets an allied unit.
Yeah, but here's the deal also. This is, if you notice, if you read the last line, is you can cast it while channeling stuff.
Oh.
So you can use it on a Witch Doctor or an Enigma.
Well, then you have to be able to cast it on yourself. Because otherwise it wouldn't replace like that Shadow Amulet that like Crystal Maiden or Witch Doctor would get.
If you're able to cast it on yourself as well, it's pretty good. Like really, really, really good. And then when you have like...
Here, I'll figure it out.
Really good, but it's pretty damn good as a support item. Again, this is a support item through and through. I mean, even though you have attack speed and such, I feel like this is like an off-laner item or maybe a support item, like position 4 item particularly.
Because it's really not that expensive. It's cheaper than a Blink by 300 gold, so... Yeah, why does it still say preparing to launch? I'm going to try to just go into the test client real quick and make sure you can cast it on yourself if the test client will launch. Which it's not, so never mind.
It's pretty good, man. It's pretty solid. It's kind of underrated, actually.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip the next two for now, and we're gonna talk about Silver Edge since we're already talking about ganking items. Because this is the Mega Shadow Blade, basically. It actually looks like a blue Sange in the client, which I like a bit better. Brace yourself for no vid. Sorry, I've got the volume weird on this because it is weird. And I'm just gonna put this in the corner over here. If it'll stop freezing everything I own. Okay. And just slip it down here in this little window.
The fuck are you doing?
I'm setting it up so they could see the test client if I pull it up real quick. In one of the little boxes that I've got here. And we'll just load up a lobby. Searching for Dota 2 network, I don't care. Sure, fill empty slip. That won't work. Nothing's gonna work because the network's down, I can't create a lobby. And if I fill with bots, I can't get a Glimmer Cape in a reasonable amount of time.
We'll just go through it.
Yep, anyways,
Soldier on, okay?
Yep, Blue Sange, as I'm gonna call it. We've got 32 damage, 30 attack speed, 16 strength. Pretty good right there because that's 48 damage for a strength hero. So right away...
something. Let me cut with this. Something that actually Stingson pointed out in his take of this is the build-up is really good. It's really good. You get the early Sange, then you add up a Shadow Blade on it. I mean, it's really good build-up as an item. Like, they're already useful items by themselves, and then you just kind of merge them in a single slot, which I feel like is the trending topic of this particular item. The item updates and new items and such is the fact of slot efficiency.
Yeah, and the fact that this is basically like this looks like a turn anyone into bounty hunter ability. Like, go in, okay, applies break to disable passives. There is no evasion, there is no anything right now.
And even then, is the hit that you do it to break this, it will never miss anyway.
Yeah. So and then they only do 40% less damage. So
any damage type.
Any damage type, yeah.
A reminder, so you can just jump a Zeus or a Lena with this, and they don't really have a good fighting chance. The Zeus is gonna get particularly fucked with this, like really shut down heavily. Because it's like you open up with this, and then he's like, "Well, I'm just gonna try to land balls on you." Like, well, good luck with that, man. It's 40% reduction on.
You can cast Glimmer Cape on yourself, by the way. So.
Yeah. Even then, that would be just stupid. Because it's like, well, then you're doing like literally 0 damage.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could also do this for Phantom Assassin as well. And she's like, well, I cannot really set a fight here. I mean, you kind of could tank around, but that's about it. I mean, the reaction you will need to do as a Phantom Assassin is just like blink that fuck away, man, because...
yeah. You can't fight that at that point.
It's just 5 seconds, though, so it's kind of manageable, but... and it's a 24-second cooldown. The cooldown is gigantic on this, so you need to be really careful. But, for example, a Slark with this... Oh,
it's going to be ridiculous. It's a huge buff to Slark. A hero that I still think is OP. But, anyways, let's go back up to the right one. Gotta get the right one there. Guardian Greaves. It's super mech. It's Arcane Boots plus mech plus a recipe. One thing I figured out in the test client playing a game today is that, you know how mech, like, you can't reapply it to someone?
Yeah.
This doesn't... That seems to... not be the case here. Like, you can apply as many of these. So you could potentially get 5 of these and restore 1,250 health.
Yeah, but that's gonna get hot fixed. For sure.
I don't know, though, because think about how expensive this item is.
I don't know, man. I think that they're gonna do it. That would be too stupidly OP, because, to be honest, even though it's an expensive item, is a fucking boots. It's a freaking set of boots, and that's about it. And you're getting like 1,000 heal out of that. No, that's gonna happen. What I think will happen is that maybe, just maybe, it would be able to stack with mechanism. So you're gonna have a mechanism in Guardian Gleam.
You can definitely do that. Yeah.
And I think that could work, but no, like letting all 5 of them just go rampant is like the thing with the Meepo and the spell steal with Ravish. You know, that thing is gonna get fixed. There's no way, dude. There's no way. So I wouldn't be surprised if Guardian Griff's like doesn't go this. But this is a really high valued item for a support in general, or pretty much support. This is like the ultimate support item. Why? Because you're saving up possibly 3 slots, or you're merging 3 slots into 1, and you're getting a self purge on top of this, because pretty much cutting this dry that's pretty much what you have. It's like you have 3 boots plus a mech plus mana boots and all of that in a single slot, which I feel like is the biggest the biggest appeal of this item, is the fact that you're able to have 3 items that you will normally use as, you know, in different instances. Like, for example, like I don't want to say Witch Doctor, but I want to say like maybe a Silencer sometimes, or maybe something like Vengeful Spirit. I have seen Vengeful Spirit going for mana boots. But
I mean, now there's actually a build-up for mana boots, and I just used it on the stream here if you're watching the little box. So yeah, and I did want to see. Okay, blinking does break the invisibility from Glimmer Cape, by the way, so that idea is not going to happen. But anyways, Azus is going to be like this a lot.
An offensive. Can you use Lincolns on enemies? I don't know.
No, that's not a thing. So, anyways, let's move on down to Moonshard, which is basically the Super Hyperstone. It's 4,300 gold.
Before that, did you notice the passives of the Guardian Greaves are pretty darn good?
Oh yes, we forgot to mention that. It's basically turning you into everyone gets Huskar healed at low health. So 15 health regen and 15 armor. If you think you can just right-click people down with these boots, think again.
Tranquils, man.
But while it doesn't turn off if you're being attacked. That's the other thing. That is it's like Super Tranks.
Yeah.
And it's an aura, so why not? Plus, it gives you stats. Like, it combines all the best parts of all the boots except Travels, pretty much. 5 armor from Tranquils, 250 mana from the Arcane Boots, 5 stats from, like, a Power Tread. What's not to love about that boot? Seriously.
Well, not from the Power Tread, but stats from the mech, actually. But yeah,
also,
it's pretty similar. Also,
it takes the mana cost away from mech.
Yeah.
Like, completely.
This is the downside with it. It's quite an expensive boot. I think it's the most expensive boot of the whole bunch. Outside of the... No, yeah, it's even more expensive than the Super Travels. So, that's the downside with it. It's like, it's gonna take you a while to build this baby up. However, the build-up is just amazing. I mean, it came with some mechanism. As a support, you're gonna build up anyway. So... You just need to cough up a couple, 1,600 gold, which it is quite hefty.
And Rupture, I was wrong about the restore. It doesn't work twice in a row. I just turned on WTF mode, and yeah, that doesn't work. So,
fucking told you, man.
You're right. Yep. Okay.
Anyway, Moonshard.
Moonshard, 2 Hyperstones and a recipe. You get 250 bonus night vision, which currently stacks. Not sure if that's gonna be permanent or if it's going to get fixed. And if you consume it, it doesn't. I mean, you have to have them in all your item slots for that, but it's an interesting idea there. The passive is 120 attack speed, and if you like devour it, so if you eat part of the moon, first of all, you're crazy. Second of all, you get a permanent 60 attack speed buff, which virtually gives every single hero a 7th slot right now that they can put a Hyperstone in.
Hypothetically.
I mean, if you can farm it up.
I'm not going to build this on every single hero, but yeah, I get what you mean.
But I mean, it is the kind of thing that if the game goes to 120 minutes, everyone's going to have one of these devoured. Everyone.
I don't think everyone, because there are some heroes that don't really benefit from attack speed at all, like a Shadow Shaman. It's like, well, what you gonna do with attack speed?
Still, when you've got 60, that's a decent amount of attack speed, And it literally costs you no slot.
Because run, you're building up pretty much utility items anyway.
Of course.
I get what you mean. I mean, if you're anything remotely near physical damage, DPS carry,
build that item,
or of any regard, you're probably gonna chuck this one up, especially if you have the extra gold. The thing is, you wanna. I'm pretty sure that on future games, a lot of people are gonna are gonna eat this without looking like.
Yeah. Not without realizing it.
Yeah, by mistake.
I wouldn't be surprised if they put in something that let you, like, control cast it. Like, if you held down control and hit your item hotkey, it would actually let you eat it. So that, like, things like, what is it? Bloodstone. Where it has to be cast on the ground for you to suicide.
Yeah. Or just pretty much bind it onto an inventory, or bind into a inventory slot that you know you don't have any keys. So
yeah, but everyone has 6 keys.
Manually.
You should, anyway, so.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's a problem, because if you devour it, even though, yes, you have your 7 slot open and such, I mean...
That's a good question, Blapster.
You're losing 60 attack speed and the passive vision. So, you need to be really careful with this. But at the same time, I mean, at face value, this is an amazing item. Just, I mean, 4,300 gold... for 120 attack speed, that's even faster than Assault Cuirass, man. Just let that sink in.
Yeah.
This with a tiny is just gonna be ownage.
It's more than a Mask of Madness currently gives, which is, and without the extra damage you'll take.
Yeah, I mean, just get this bitch on a tiny or a PA, and you're just gonna wreck face.
Okay, I'm trying to see here. Okay, 0.4 seconds per attack. I'm testing if it stacks. Okay, so if they're in your inventory, they stack. So, if you consume one, it does indeed stack with the other one, I believe. 0.47, 0.7, yep. So, you can build multiple ones of these. You just can't, like, if I eat the second one, it doesn't even let me. So.
Yeah, which is good, by the way.
Yeah.
Avoid any slip-ups. But, I mean, hypothetically, yes, you could just get a tiny and just get like a Helmet Dominator, a BKB, and 4 of these guys.
Okay.
With a Wisp supporting you, and you should be able to just destroy anything in sight. However, here comes the balance of the game per se. Is like, well, what if I need an AC? What if I need a Daedalus or a Monkey Kimber, and then just peters off. But I mean, if you it's possible to just go a full build of like these boots and a BKB and just fill up your inventory.
And on heroes like Void and Troll, this item is going to be really strong. On Troll especially, which he's not going to be picked much, but we will see. I'm sure if we do see him picked, we'll see this come up. Anyways, moving on to Solar Crest. It's basically a medallion with evasion added onto it. So
for good and bad. I mean, for
both offense and defense. Yep. You either give the enemy a mischance or you give your ally 30% evasion. It's pretty straightforward. It looks really powerful because it's a butterfly's worth of evasion. And I can't wait to see it used.
It has a decent build-up, though, also, because
yeah.
It doesn't have any recipe.
But, I mean 3k gold, that's 1,000 more than a mech.
Yeah, it's expensive. And
it's a straight upgrade to the medallion as well, which is a decent upgrade.
Here is the deal also, is the fact that, well, if you're not going to build mech, well, this is a really good alternative as well, you know. That's another thing worth noting, is like, well, I mean, you can go mech, and, I mean, for example, Vengeful Spirit with this. She's going to have way more survivability than she normally would, first of all, because you're pretty much doubling the armor that you're gaining with this, or, well, not doubling, but you're getting, like, +4 armor or something like that. On top of that, you have evasion, so you can save your ass of like a Phantom Assassin or a Troll or an Axe or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's like, well, you can use this and just destroy Roshan, because Roshan will have mischance and will have the minus armor and all that happy horseshit. But as well is the fact that, for example, you know, I have been playing a lot of Medallion Women.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the Crystal Maiden that I've got here with the Moonshard eaten and the Moonshard in the inventory. She attacks so fast. But I'm just playing around in a test lobby just so I can test things. I was really messing with the Solar Crest a bit. But Medallion Windrunner, like, it's a good upgrade for her, but keep in mind they're going to build MKB. Let's move on because we're taking a little time on the items.
That's what I'm trying to go with.
Yeah.
The fact, okay, you probably as a windrunner you're going to use most of this offensively.
Yeah.
And usually with most of the supports you want. Because again, you're like, well, there goes my evasion, therefore I'm gonna be dead. But with the Wind Ranger in particular, I feel like the interaction is gonna be quite useful because you're pretty much either gonna use it on someone else defensively or offensively at all, and you still have the Wind Run on top of that, just to you know, as an extra bailout card, you could say. On top of that, it's like, well, you have passive evasion as well, so it's really good for farming and such, or just wandering around, you know. But anyway, let's move ahead. That's some next meta stuff that I'm just pondering here.
Yep. Next we got Octarine Core. It's really expensive, 6k gold, and has a pretty hefty build-up, but it does give you some really great bonuses. If you've got enough mana to sustain it, it'll reduce all your cooldowns by 25%. You get this on Quap, 30 with an Ags, 30-second ult every time.
You're being way too narrow-minded with this.
I'm just giving an example though.
Timber saw.
You don't need it on Tinker, I don't think.
I mean, the mana pool is just gigantic, and you need it for that second bonus.
Yeah, for the spell Lifesteal, it's very nice, and 25% Lifesteal from heroes. So if you're doing 1,000 damage, you get 250 health back instantly. 5% from creeps
Tinker,
too.
That's a dream. That's a dream.
And
like,
AoE.
It's gonna take on you up, man. Boom.
Yeah.
Also for Zeus, another benefit is the fact that it also reduces the cooldown from items as well.
Yep,
So,
for all the heroes. I could see this even being built on something like Spectre. Just for that reason.
Maybe, even.
What I want to know, though, is the spell Lifesteal. It won't work with items, will it?
I think it does, actually.
Okay, I'm gonna test this out, so give me a second. But
from spells only.
It shouldn't, I don't think, but we're gonna find out. So sell that, get a Dagon.
Even then, it's like really good for Tinker because even
Dagon
then,
5, why not?
Spells are gonna deal a lot of damage anyway. You're gonna be just spamming lasers and rockets and all that happy stuff. So you should anyway have a big payoff out of that. Again, the TIE Hunter particularly, I feel like it's gonna be really good as a super late item.
Yeah, it's like an extra refresher almost. So, I mean that's a big deal. I'm trying to see. Kill me, creeps. Wow, can you go any slower? Stop that, Crystal Maid. Don't auto attack. Wow. Okay, to Roche. I gotta get low somehow, and I have tons of regen. Actually, let me just drop these boots for now. Anyways, but it shouldn't work with items. Actually, let me just drop all this crap.
Now that I think about it, it shouldn't. Yeah.
But I want to know that it doesn't, for sure. Because if it works with Radiance, this is going to be ridiculous.
Oh no. No.
If it works, I mean, just imagine.
I think, I mean, if it's gonna work with any item, it would be like a single target point item, like a Dagon. Or something like that.
Well, if it's going to work with one of them, it needs to work with all of them. But, alas, it does not. So, anyways, moving on. Item additions, you can stack observers and sentries. Really cool. Slot efficiency again. Big theme.
Yeah, the thing is, like, most of this, it looks like being a little bit bugged still.
But it's a big deal, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
And that's why they put the patch out early.
Saying is, like, it's going to rely mostly on Valve just to hotfix any weird interactions that might arise from this, but if it works as intended, this is going to be amazing. Just amazing.
Upgraded boots of travel, you can double up and you can teleport to heroes. It's just another slot efficiency thing. I feel like this isn't that big of a deal, but it is for late game. We understand though, like, this stuff is straightforward. And we, keep in mind, Rupture, we've got a game in an hour, so I'm trying to press us forward a little bit. Yeah.
It's not a big deal, just because think about this with a Bad Rider or something like that.
That's true.
Link into Initiate. If you're able to time this properly...
It's like the 5-man bird bomb from Batrider. Beastmaster, sorry. Yeah, that's going to be fun late game, but again, it's one of those, well, will you have the gold for it? We don't know yet. Skullbasher and Abyssal Blade. Yeah. the damage is reduced a little bit, but the bash actually deals more damage. And
deals damage at all, because bash usually...
okay. Yeah.
So that's the thing. That's a trade-off. It's like, usually, before the bash didn't deal any damage. What I don't know is physical or magical damage. Though.
It's probably physical, I'm assuming.
If it is physical, then it's pretty good, because it's another instance of damage, which will have versus like the tree armor or Templar Assassin or something like that.
Yeah.
On top of, pretty much what you're hitting, and it's a alrighty trade-off. It's
a great trade-off, honestly. But think about how much attack speed you have if you're gonna get a basher. Like, you're losing 15 damage, and you're getting 60 per crit. If you crit 20, or if you bash, yeah, but if you bash 1 out of 4 times, you get the same amount of damage. If you get any more, then you get more damage.
Yeah,
and a lot more damage.
On that. The actual nerf that comes is the fact that the cooldown on the bash.
I still don't feel like that's a huge deal, though.
Sorta. I mean, again, it's 0.3, which is it's something. I don't feel like it's a huge deal, but it's significant. It's something at least worth noting. So it's a slight nerf into the basher, because I mean, you could say that the 60 bonus damage is kind of a trade-off with that base damage reduction, but you have 2 instances of damage, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But the actual bash nerf, it's actually like, if you're able to weigh down both sides, it's like, yeah, basher and abyssal got a slight nerf, but just a little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna lump these 3 together. Cost reduced on energy booster and arcane boots by 100, because it's built from our energy booster. Your replenish radius is bigger. A lot of those radiuses have gotten bigger this patch. And it no longer costs the mana. Yeah. On the downside, though, Bloodstone is actually not changed at all, except the recipe is more, but since one of the components costs 100 gold less, it's completely even. It's exactly the same.
It's just to even out the Bloodstone. It's like, well, we're going to give you a cheaper energy booster, therefore we're going to increase the recipe. So it's kind of it stays the same. It's just the fact that they didn't want to touch the Bloodstone, because it's for Valve, at least, it's fine the way it is, which I think I agree. I mean, I'd
agree with that.
Issues with Bloodstone, I think.
Armlet of Mordegon doesn't give the attack speed when it's active. It gives the attack speed passively, so it's actually just a much better item to have if it's not on. And the strength gain period is a little shorter, so you bulk up a little faster, which is going to be quite nice if you can armlet toggle well. If you can't, well, it's the same item. Don't buy it, because you're bad at armlet toggling.
Toggling's going to get better. No, I mean, actually, this might actually convince people like me who are really shitting at armlet toggling to actually try it out, just because I don't know how the instances of damage from earn or damage over time works, but if it's around the same margin of time, you can actually, it's going to be substantially easier to just toggle through it.
Yeah.
I think.
Quelling Blade changed from full damage bonus to base damage bonus. Basically, the plus damage, the green damage that you get, it doesn't matter now with Quelling Blade. But your base damage matters a little bit more. It's from 32 to 40.
For example.
Yeah, and it's great for early game. In the early game, this is a huge buff. I played a game of Spectre on the test client, and it was like, wow, it's so much easier to last hit. It now kills wards as well, which is nice, and has a little extra range for wards. No longer deals bonus damage to Roshan, which was a little ridiculous, but now we have Necro for that, so don't worry about it. The big thing is that once you get a bunch of plus damage items, this isn't as efficient. However, once you've got a bunch of plus damage items, you can sell this, so it's no big deal. However, Battle Fury now requires and provides the bonuses of Quelling Blade. They didn't change. The cost of Battle Fury is up a little bit, but it's built with something that you probably had in your inventory anyway. So, no big deal.
It's going to make you more efficient killing grips anyway.
Yeah. 60% bonus for melee heroes. This is a huge buff to Anti-Mage and any other Battle Fury builder. In fact, I wouldn't even flame like a Bounty Hunter or a Jug for going Battle Fury at this point. It could work.
I would flame the Bounty Hunter.
I mean,
Jug,
maybe.
I wouldn't, but the Bounty Hunter, yes.
Cleave radius increase as well.
Stop that shit. It doesn't help anyone.
The attack damage is reduced slightly, though, but keep in mind you get more against creeps and you're buying this to farm.
Yeah, and
so,
you're getting a huge bonus.
Actually, though, this is a slight nerf to Ember. a very slight nerf, but the radius does make up for it, so no big deal. BKB can be sold. It doesn't reset the duration. It doesn't reset the charges.
I think it had to be done.
You can just sell it. Slot efficiency, so whatever. Blade Mail, damage return cooldown more often. That's a pretty decent buff to the item. Nothing game-breaking, though. Blades of Attack are 30 gold cheaper, meaning phase boots are 60 gold cheaper.
Blades of Attack, you could say.
Yeah. I see what you did there, Valve, and Rupture, and etc. Phase boots, though, a little less duration on the phase.
But they're 60 gold cheaper, so...
Yeah, which is kind of a big deal if you're buying phase boots. Boots of Travel, 5 seconds less cooldown. In return, I'm going to go ahead and skip down here. We've got a lot of items to go through. Holy crap. The TP scroll is 5 seconds more, so these are clearly a much better item. Not to mention you can upgrade them now. Where were we? Buckler, radius increase. We talked about that.
All the radius have been, all the auras have been increasing to 900.
Yep. Flutter duration from 8 to 6 and bonus movement speed from 20 to 25, so you're faster, but it doesn't last as long.
Which I feel like
Pretty
is
much.
worth it, because either way, actually, you didn't want it to last it that long.
And I'm pretty sure you cover the same extra amount of distance there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and do the math, but yeah. You get a little more mana and duration on Clarity, ally cast range a little longer. This is to make it compete with the Mango, which is now the god of all consumables. All hail the Mango.
Sorta.
Yeah. Cloak is better. A little more magic resistance, which is quite a big deal.
This is actually huge, because it's such a value item that there is no reason now as a support.
500, you're basically doubling your magic resistance now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Much.
I like that for supports. Vanguard, damage block chance increased by 8%.
Hey, it's less shitty.
I mean,
Still shit, but less shitty.
I'd say it's pretty good now. Especially with the damage block on the guard being increased by 5. And the active area increased more.
The Crimson Guard, that's another Hill of Beans. Now that looks pretty good.
But you gotta get one to get the other.
Guard is like, it's that shitty, I guess, but Crimson Guard is actually really worthwhile to buy. If you're, you have that proper conditions to build it up. Like having a really good early start as a Bristleback or an X, yeah, go ahead now. Crimson Guard is like really, really good. Well, not really, really good, but it's pretty darn good.
Alright, Desolator, damage decreased by 10, but the recipe cost is decreased by 600, which means you can get this early game, and it's huge. This is ridiculous.
Huge, baby.
Diffusal Blade, works on ranged illusions for half the value. Just kind of a, okay, you can do it too change. This could make Diffusal Terror Blade a thing.
For Drow.
Yeah. Heroes with high attack speed, in general. And it just means that Diffusal Blade is going to be much more useful in general, so...
It's going to have a wider hero pool, that's what I feel like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because Diffusal Blade, what's useful is the fact that just Phantom Lancer and Ricky, that's about it.
Yeah, Spectre sometimes.
It's going to make it a little bit more open to everyone else.
Mirana will get it more, I bet.
Yeah, actually I can see this happening with the Mirana, actually. That's a good point.
Yep. Anyways, Divine Rapier damage increase. This was just a, okay, this item's old and rusty, let's give it a little more. And if you're buying a Rapier, you deserve all the damage you can get. So.
Yeah. I'm kind of sad that they didn't increase it to 322.
Yeah, I am a little.
Can I say that?
Yeah. But it's whatever. It's an 8 damage difference, and at that point, 8 damage is nothing.
322 Rapiers.
They're already 322
come
though.
on, this is like literally the 322 item. Anyway,
yeah.
I mean, like either you're going on a blaze of glory or you're gonna crash and burn. So I mean, this should have been 322. Valve, I'm disappointed. Anyway, the Revelations 5% extra slow, which I feel like the item needed it because
now you're gonna feel the slow.
It could just slip through you, and a lot of enemy heroes, the Slark, for example, it's just like, I don't care, I still am fast as fuck, so...
Slark's just like, okay, I'll just purge it off, whatever.
I mean, you're gonna still be able to purge it off, but at least you're gonna have a bigger window of chance of actually stunning
the guy. If you don't purge it off, you're gonna be in big trouble, too, which is the problem. Drum of Endurance, the active attack speed bonus is increased a bit. That's good, but I don't think this puts this back in the realm of top-tier item.
No, but it's a situational good item.
It's a push item basically now. Eagle Storm's a little cheaper. Yule's was too powerful. They gave it 100 more mana. I don't think that'll completely take it out of the meta, but it's a little worse, at least.
This is a thinker nerf. Through and through.
Yeah, I could see that. I have Scotty just kind of rebalanced for ranged heroes because it was a little ridiculous on heroes like Sniper. Flying Courier has less visions. Yeah, or Shadow Fiend. Less vision, more speed burst. That's a great change for mid for bottle crowing, but other than that, it doesn't change much.
I think that the biggest change was the fact that you cannot kill you cannot one-shot the courier now. I think that's a bigger thing.
We'll get to that though with the walking courier.
Yeah.
For Snap, you get an extra health per second. Cool. It's expensive. It's useful. 1 health per second is not really that big of a buff, I think.
But it kind of needed it just because 3 health per second was kind of And with 4 is like, at least you're noticing that you're regenerating a little bit faster.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's alright.
Ghost Scepter cost reduced, but stats bonus decreased as well. Sounds fine.
Yeah, I mean,
not a big change.
If people were buying Ghost Scepter just because of the stats, you're playing the wrong game, son.
Yeah.
You're playing the wrong game.
The one bright side is it makes Ethereal Blade a little cheaper. Actually, it's 200 gold cheaper with the Eagle Song change, so that's convenient. It's now 4,700 as opposed to 4,900.
Yeah, and considering that it's such a niche item, this is just like Morphling and maybe Tinker. I think it's a good way to just keep them in the realm of you can still play it. You know.
Yeah.
Not gonna be prohibitive for them, even though a lot of other changes have been like indirect nerfs towards them. You know, like to travel. I mean, not the boots of travel, but the Yule's nerf and such and such.
Okay. Gloves of Haste are just tweaked. Headdress aura changed. Healing Salve heals quicker. Those aren't big changes, in my opinion. Reaver.
The Salve is big, kinda.
The Salve is okay, but it's still not that big of a deal.
It's
I don't
big
think.
for those clutch moments.
Those clutch moments, yeah. But otherwise,
yeah,
it's not going to be that big.
Yeah. On the bigger scale of things, it shouldn't, but it will because of the nature of Dota. But yeah, so cheaper Reaver, actually. But
more expensive Heart. That's where the 200 went. More regen from the health regen.
Great for anti-mage. Oh my god.
And a little longer disable time. But of course, if you're like anti-mage or something, you can blink out and you're going to be fine. You can sit back and regen and then you'll be fine. So.
And you're going to regen faster. So you're like, if my math doesn't fails me, I could be wrong. But if you're taking damage with an anti-mage, you blink out, and during the cooldown of the blink, you should have like at least 70% of your hit points back already.
Well, you've got to wait for yourself to not have taken damage for 5 seconds.
Exactly,
remember.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, as soon as it triggers out, considering like, okay, you blink out, you wait for the cooldown of your blink, which is like 4 to 5 seconds.
I think it's 6 or 7, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, 6 or 7. So you're having like already like 2 or 3 seconds uptime. So you're just like sitting like for 2 or 3 seconds, and you can blink back in, and you should be like half hit points at least. You know, that's what I'm trying to go with. You know?
Yeah. Lincoln Spear blocks more often. That's good. This item is rarely picked up these days. Magic Wand is a big buff because you don't have a recipe anymore and you get an extra stat from it. This is... oftentimes you just see people pick up the stick and be like, okay, we're good. But the extra stat points and the fact that it's a lot easier to build is actually a really big deal, I think. It's also less expensive by about 30 gold, but that's not a huge chain, again.
Yeah, it's just the fact that all the components of the Magic Wand now actually do something. I think that's the most important part.
Mask of Madness is a big nerf. Move speed bonus reduced, which was the big problem, is you could use it to kite.
Get fucked, Sniper. Get fucked.
It's still a good situational item, but it's not one of those, let's just buy it, we can farm quick.
No, it's like, let's just pop my Mask of Madness and just run like hell and no one is gonna catch me.
Yeah.
Fucking Sniper.
Not gonna happen.
Fuck you. Fuck you, Sniper.
Rupture, you a little angry there, bro? Again, the aura radius increased by a little bit.
900. See, everything is just 900 radius now.
A little more cast range on static charge and a bug fix. That's not a big deal. To be honest,
actually was kind of a big deal, especially if you're playing like invisible heroes. So
yeah, Necronomicon,
you're
though...
getting away by the skin of your teeth, and all of a sudden, oh, there's a random ricochet lightning that is gonna kill you. How? He didn't have any vision from me, and such. And I was like, no, well, because fuck you, that's why. Now they fix it, so...
Necronomicon actually got a huge buff, though.
It's the fair thing to do, I would say. You know, it's
yeah.
Like that hotfix was the fair thing to do. It's like, I mean, if you're invisible, there's no reason why an item should kill you out of the blue, you know?
Yep. Necronomicon level 1 gets a huge buff, and a slight buff to level 2. Level 3 staying the same, so basically early pushing is more viable with this item. If you've got gold, you can push. Yep.
They're just not free gold anymore.
Yep.
Or at least less likely, if anything.
Observer wards now come in single increments. Again, slot efficiency. Cost and restock time reduced by half. Stock doubled. It's basically just balancing out so you still have the same amount for the same cost. Overall. Per ward, anyway. You can't miss wards, so supports will be happy. And you also get a little bit of XP. Not much, but just a little bit.
Losing situation, the missing ward chance. Because it's just a free bait. Like, oh, I'm trying to kill this ward, all of a sudden everyone initiates, and all of a sudden your support is down, which hopefully is like a silencer or something, like which has a huge impact ulti.
Yep.
Oh wait, we're gonna lose the team fight, therefore we lose the game, you know, and just because of one damn fucking sentry.
Because we tried to de-ward. We were good, people. Insight now provides 10% magic resist aura to nearby allies. That's big. It doesn't affect the equipped hero, but he's got extra magic resist anyway, so who cares? And radius increased. Power Treads gets an extra stat. That's fine. If there's other good boots, you might want to buff Power Treads a little bit. Quarterstaff is a tiny bit cheaper, but not much. I'm not even going to consider that much of a change at all. That's like half a last hit.
Well,
no big deal.
If you're able to start stacking it up with the butterfly, you know, with the reductions...
Still, though, if you're farming a butterfly, 25 gold is not a big deal.
Yeah, but it stacks up as like 125 gold. It's a little something, you know.
It's something.
You're gonna get it a little bit cheaper. Just a little bit, though.
Okay, Radiance Recipe is increased by 75 gold, but it's buffed so much that it's not even funny.
That's the opposite of the Desolator thing.
And here's the big thing. It's not evasion for your hero. It's mischance for enemies that are affected. Meaning, if Lone Druid gets it on his bear, it not only gives the bear evasion, it gives Lone Druid evasion. The downside to this is that, of course, BKB heroes who aren't being affected by the burn, because they have BKB, they're not going to be affected by the mischance. So,
yeah, but in the back end of that, it's like, well, before you didn't have the damage burn anyway, and Radiance didn't do anything for you anyway. Yeah. So if he has a BKB, he has a BKB. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So now it's
I really like that change,
also,
though.
You can send a Naga Illusion into a team fight and actually will do something.
It'll live, yeah.
It would help them live.
Well, yeah. Refresher Orb, now built with 2 Perseverances. It doesn't give you any more int, but it only gave 6 to begin with. And it costs 75 more. That's not a huge deal.
That's actually kind of a nerf, actually. It got nerfed hard, because consider this that the bows
keep in
that
mind,
you got from the Oblivion stuff were pretty good.
Keep in mind you have the Octarine now, so you can just reduce all your cooldowns by 25%. This needed to get a bit nerfed to balance it out. Rod of Atos, yeah. Rod of Atos, 5 intelligence more. That's good. Nobody builds this item except Aoi, and they should because it's a good item. Satanic, you got an extra half second on lifesteal. Whoop-de-doo. That's not a huge deal, but it's good, I guess. Sentry wards, they do still come in 2s. Don't be alarmed, but they do still come in 2s. But attacking a ward can no longer miss. And I do like the fact that they still come in 2s, because if you could buy 1 sentry ward for 100 gold, it would be less of an investment for a huge return in the early game, so that's fine. Shiva's Guard slows attack speed 5 more. That's not really much. I'm trying to rush through these
scale better with everything that its attack speed focus on the new items and such.
Yeah.
So it's just like to make the Shiva's Guard compete with the rest of things.
Exactly.
Just pumping.
Style Shield gets a little worse, but it's also 50 gold cheaper, which means you can buy more. It's actually the same cost as a Ring of Protection, so that's a big deal. Tango can now be used to eat wards, which heals for double the amount. That's great for supports because they don't have to buy a Quelling Blade now.
Yeah, and you can actually just deward and get some get some bonus out of it.
Yep. TP scroll slightly nerfed to compensate for the fact that you can get better boots of travel and the fact that slots are more available. So that needed to be changed.
But
and
the second point, I think, is the biggest help to anyone.
You can get a Ghost Scepter, yeah.
Get Ethereal and just cast in the TP. That's
we lol now. Anyways, Urn of Shadows, I'm just going to go ahead and say that's just a bug fix.
Yeah, that's about
it's not anything big. And very rarely are you going to have that issue because you don't want to have two urns on the same team. And it's only going to be a 1 second or so overlap if it's your own urn. If you did, yeah. Veil of Discord, recipe down 150, cooldown reduced, duration reduced, mana cost reduced. So basically you can spam this even more. It's only down for 4 seconds of time rather than 5, but you can use it more often. So
it's a buff.
It's a pretty big buff because you don't want to like hit somebody with it and then they're dead and you're in a different sort of team fight and then nobody has it and you're like, well, this item's useless now. And it's also cheaper.
Yeah,
Vlad's,
and also is like, what kind of team fight lasts 25 seconds?
Yeah.
Let's be real here.
So. Vlad's is now 250 more, though, because it requires Headdress instead of Ring of Regen, which technically means it still requires Ring of Regen, but don't worry about that. You get 2 all stats, and there's an aura of health regen, as well as 10% lifesteal from ranged heroes. As a trade-off, they lose 1% of lifesteal for the melee heroes. Not that one lifesteal.
Yeah, but I mean...
Ursa gets buffed, so it's okay.
Ranged heroes is pretty huge.
That's really huge, yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna stop the video right now. Part 2 will be heroes, and hopefully we're gonna get through that relatively quickly. And yeah, I'll link that in the description below on YouTube, so just a second here for our viewers on the stream.